I am so beyond excited for this video because, as you can see behind me, I have a gigantic stack of books to unbox. Most of the books are from Barnes & Noble and Amazon, but then we also do have June and July's Book of the Month books to go through because I ordered June's kind of late, and then I came up with a couple of video ideas, and then Barnes & Noble had a gigantic sale, and 3 weeks later, here we are with this mountain. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our books. And we're gonna go ahead and start with our Book of the Month books. So this first box is from June. Our first book that we have is The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. And the way that they described this book was basically like a Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but for books, which sounds absolutely amazing. And then my add-on book that I got was My Murderer by Katie Williams. And honestly, the main draw for me for this was the cover. I think this cover is super, super cute, but also the story obviously sounded really good as well. This is basically about a woman who gets murdered and she's brought back to life and she has to solve her own murder. How cool does that sound? And then every box does come with a little bookmark, and I never really mentioned these, but this one kind of made me laugh. It says, "Respectfully, leave me alone." And yeah, that's how I feel when I'm reading. Leave me be, let me read for 10 hours. Now we're gonna go ahead and grab our July Book of the Month, which is a hefty boy. This is the size of like your typical Book of the Month box, and as you can see, this one is like twice as large because I did get 3 books, so 1 regular book and then 2 add-ons. Honestly, the main push for me to subscribe to Book of the Month was because of your add-ons. For $16 every month, you get your 1 book. But then what's really cool is you can actually add, I think like 3 to 5 add-ons. I don't remember exactly how many. And those add-ons only cost you $10.99. So basically you're getting like brand new hardcover books for $11, which is kind of crazy. Especially with this month, I was so freaking excited. I cannot wait to show you guys what I got. 1 book specifically. So for our actual July pick, I went for Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong, best-selling young adult author Chloe Gong's adult epic fantasy debut, inspired by Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra, is a fiery collision of power plays, spilled blood, and romance amid a set of deadly games. So that's really all I needed to know. Any type of like Hunger Games-esque, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, like if there's like a competition to the death, I'm there. But also we have 2 other books and they're both by the same author. We have Home Before Dark by Riley Sager, which I've actually never heard of. But then the book that I was like so excited to be able to get again for $10 freaking or $11, the only one left. This book literally just came out. Like anywhere else that you want to get this book, it's $25. The whole add-on situation definitely worked its magic this month. Very briefly, this is basically like a Lizzie Borden style thriller. Essentially, this young girl's entire family turns up dead and everyone thinks it's her, but there's no proof, that kind of thing. And this book basically takes place like decades later, I guess, when the supposed killer is like in her 70s in a nursing home, and she wants to like finally tell her story basically. So that sounds so good. And then our last book for our Book of the Month again is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This is basically about a family that moved into a haunted house and they ended up like fleeing in the middle of the night to escape the house. And the father wrote a memoir called House of Horrors, basically chronicling, the things that occurred while they were living there. And the daughter has basically lived in the shadow of this memoir. And then when the father dies, she inherits the house and she goes there to kind of like prepare it for sale. And weird things start happening. The neighbors don't like her because they don't like the fact that their small town has been made famous by this stupid, haunted house horror book. So those were the Book of the Month books. Now let's go ahead and move on to, we'll go ahead and do this stack of just like random opened books. We have 4 different books here and 3 of them are actually from the same series. So if you watched my July TBR video, one of the books that I decided to read for this month was Red Rising. One of the reviews on the back says, reminiscent of the Hunger Games and Game of Thrones. Sold. I've heard so many good things about this book that I decided to just go ahead and get not just Red Rising, but also the 2nd and 3rd book in the series as well. So we have Red Rising, and then we have Golden Sun, and then Morning Star. And then the 4th book that I had in that little pile is A Game of Fate by Scarlett St. Clair. I've talked about this series and the companion series for this several different times. The series that this one originated from is called A Touch of Darkness, and that whole series is from Persephone's perspective perspective, and this series is the spin-off series, and it's the same story but told in Hades' perspective, which at this point I have read the entirety of the original series except for the 4th book, which does come out at the end of this year, and then this one I've read just the 1st book. Now we're gonna go ahead and go through our Amazon packages, and what is in this one? A Game of Retribution, which I believe is the 2nd book in the Hades spin-off series. Alright, so I had to cut out most of my ramblings about these books because I was all kinds of mixed up about which one was which. But basically, long story short, A Game of Fate is the 1st book in the Hades spin-off series, A Game of Retribution is the 2nd, and I also did pre-order the 3rd, which comes out July 25th. So, there's that. Let's move on. Also, in my summer reading recommendations video, I mentioned that I wanted to get into poetry this summer. It's kind of like one of my reading goals. So I did go ahead and pick up 2 different poetry books. I also think there's another one in this pile somewhere. But the first one that we have is called Sweet Dark, and it's by Savannah Brown. And is this not like the prettiest cover ever? Sweet Dark explores the transience of existence, the pursuit of vulnerability, pleasure, chaos, and the dichotomy of a life wholly experienced, full of so much darkness and so much sweetness, sometimes in the same breath. I've actually had this on my Amazon wishlist for quite a long time. I want to say like over a year. So I'm pretty excited to finally have it. And then the second one has like some sticky stuff on the front. Oh, the front of this book is kind of dirty. That's a little disappointing. Oh, it looks like it's rubbing off. Anyway, and then the second book that I have is called Life of the Party, and this one is by Olivia Gatwood. And this one is basically about being a woman, essentially, and like the struggles of growing up as a girl. I'm a good girl, bad girl, dream girl, sad girl, girl next door, sunbathing in the driveway. I want to be them all at once. I want to be all the girls I've ever loved. Ooh, okay. In our next package, we have Queen of Myth and Monsters, and this is the 2nd book in the King of Battle and Blood series, also by Scarlett St. Clair. This one is essentially about a human princess that is married off to the vampire king. That's what like the 1st book is about. That's one of the books that I've been like very impatiently waiting to film this video so I can finally like read that book. And then we have our last Amazon package, and this one is a biggin. Let's see what we've got. This was actually the very first order that I placed in this entire pile, so I kind of forgot that I got these. Basically, we have the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th book in the Magnolia Parks series. I read the 1st book in this series, I want to say a couple of months ago now, and I really liked it, but these books are like 20 bucks a piece. So I was just gonna buy them like one at a time and just kind of like slowly work my way through them. However, the publisher, the author, I don't know who decides these things, decided to change the covers of the books. So I basically like panic bought all 3 of the books before the covers changed. I would have been devastated if I missed out on getting these covers because I think they're so fun and so different, and also for the simple fact that I already have the 1st one with these covers. I would have been so annoyed if I had to then get the series with the new covers. Honestly, if I didn't get these, I probably never would have finished buying the series because I cannot have the same series with different covers. Anyway, moving on, let's go ahead and get into our Barnes & Noble packages. What do we have here? This book I'm super excited for. This is Twisted by Emily McIntyre, and this is the 4th book in the Never After series. Hooked is the 1st book, and I actually read that in like a reading vlog where I was reading Peter Pan retellings, and I liked that book decently enough. I think I gave it like a 3 or a 3.5 stars, something like that. But I just finished reading the 2nd and 3rd book, Scarred and Wretched. 5 stars. Both of them are 5 stars. I freaking loved them. These are basically dark reimaginings of Disney movies, and when she says that they are dark, they are definitely dark. There's lots of spice, lots of violence, and I think with Hooked, it was the first time I've read a book with so much violence, so I wasn't really used to it, but by the time I got to Scarred and Wretched, I was here for it. Twisted is a dark contemporary slow burn romance. It is a fractured fairy tale, not fantasy or a literal retelling. The main character is a villain. If you're looking for a safe read, you will not find it in these pages. So again, they're not retellings, but they do have a lot of like hints and little like nods to the original like Disney movie. Anyway, I have to like stop myself from talking too much about these books because I want to just like gush about them because I literally love them so much. But if you're interested in my thoughts on this series, wait for my reading wrap up. This will literally be my next read because I am so excited to keep reading. Anyway, the second book that we have is Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Cesar, something like that. This is a book that I have seen in Barnes & Noble so many times, and the cover always like grabs my attention, but I'm not a big horror I don't read that genre very often, but I want to get more into it. This year is definitely the year for like getting out of my comfort zone, I feel like, with my reading. And actually, I was watching a video of someone that I can't remember their name, I'll put it on the screen, and she hauled basically a bunch of like horror and slasher books, and I essentially bought a ton of the ones that she showed. I know the slashers for sure were from her video, which are all in here somewhere, and I don't remember if this one exactly was, but this is definitely one that's been on my radar for a while, so I figured with fall coming in a few short months, or a couple short months, I would start getting my fall reading together. Actually, I should probably tell you what this book is about. When Quinn and her father moved to a tiny town with a weird clown for a mascot, they were looking for a fresh start. But ever since the town's only factory shut down, Kettle Springs has been cracked in half. Most of the town believes that the kids are to blame. After all, the juniors and seniors at Kettle Spring High are the ones who threw the party where Arthur Hill's daughter died. They're the ones who set the abandoned factory on fire and who spend all of their time posting pranks on YouTube. They have no respect and no idea what it means to work hard. For the kids, it's the other way around, and now Kettle Springs is caught in a constant battle between old and new, tradition and progress. It's a fight that looks like it will destroy the town until one homicidal clown with a pork pie hat and a red nose decides to end it for good. Ah, that sounds creepy. I'm excited. So this box has, I think, all of our slashers in it. So the first one that I have here is called Them. I do feel like this one out of all of them is the one that I'm like least story-wise or like plot-wise drawn to, but this one is also one of my favorite covers, but also it was like only $10, so like how could I not, you know? This one's basically about an alien abduction type of situation. I don't remember exactly, but that was like my main take from that. So there's that one. And this one is Tastes Like Candy by Ivy. I swear I can read. I actually have absolutely no idea what this one's about. I literally just saw the cover for this one and like the 80s like text and like color combo, and I was sold. So let's go ahead and read the back of this one. It says, everyone at Pritchett High wants an invitation to the senior scavenge. In 2020, Violet Warren and her friends are the lucky ones. 8 girls will break into the Poison Apple Carnival after hours for a scavenger hunt. Then at sunrise, they'll gather for a celebration in honor of their upcoming senior year. But someone else has another game planned. Minutes after the girls sneak into the carnival, a madman in a rubbered mask begins slashing his way through the group, and Violet quickly realizes his motives are personal. As she watches her friends die in a series of increasingly bizarre attacks, she must fight to survive while trying to answer the question, what could she have done to earn a fast pass for a roller coaster ride straight to hell? So that is Tastes Like Candy. I am a little sad that it doesn't actually take place in the 80s/90s like the cover suggests, but you know, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. The next book that I have is, I think, like the thinnest out of all of them. This one's called Cirque Berserk by Jessica Guess. This one also has a very kind of like 80s, 90s type of vibe to the front. According to the synopsis, this one actually does take place in that time frame. The summer of 1989 brought terror to the town of Shadows Creek, Florida, in the form of a massacre at the local carnival, Cirque Berserk. One fateful night, a group of teens killed a dozen people, then disappeared in thin air. No one knows why they did it, where they went, or even how many of them there were. But legend has it they still roamed the abandoned carnival looking for blood to spill. This actually does not take place in the 80s/90s because it then says, 30 years later, best friends Sam and Raquel are in the midst of a boring senior trip when they learn about the infamous Cirque Berserk. Seeking one last adventure, they and their friends journey to the nearby Shadows Creek to see if the urban legends about Cirque Berserk are true. But waiting for them beyond the carnival's gates is a night of brutality, bloodshed, and betrayal. Will they make it out alive? Or will the carnival's past demons extinguish their futures? So the synopsis for this already has a little bit of an error, like an editing error, but that's fine. The story can still be good because also I read the first Magnolia Parks book on my Kindle, and I don't know if it was just the Kindle version or if the actual book itself is the same way, but there were loads, like so many editing errors in that book, and that was still a good book and also a very popular book. Anyway, moving on, we have The Last Slasher, and this one does have my favorite cover, and it's also the chunkiest out of all of them, so crossing my fingers that this is a good one. This one is called The Cotton Candy Massacre by Christopher Robertson, and again from the cover you can kind of see there's yet another clown. So clowns are obviously a very popular thing when it comes to slasher or horror books, and then there's also kind of like a circus, you know, carnival type of situation it looks like as well. So intrigued. The book you are about to read is an account of the tragedy that occurred at the reopening of Bonkin's Bonanza one day in the summer of 1989. Another 1989 massacre. Some came looking for fun, like Candy Barton and her best friend, Leah. Others, like Rocky Rhodes and Sully Sullivan, came looking for a second chance. Instead, they would find a twisted, funfetti nightmare. For many of the thrill seekers and families visiting Bonkin's Bonanza, that day would be their last, and the events that unfolded would go on to become infamously known as the Cotton Candy Massacre. Second to last box. Let's see what we have in this one. Honestly, at this point, I don't really know what else we have, so... Ooh! Can't believe I forgot about this book. Everyone within the book community on YouTube, TikTok, wherever, has been talking about this book, and I felt left out, so I got it. Unfortunately, I did not get a fancy, fun, like, sprayed-edged one, but I'm still really excited. Actually, I'm kind of curious what the hardcover looks like. Oh, it's just plain. It does have, like, a little dragon right here, which is kind of cool, but... Anyway, the cover of this says "Fly or Die," and the back cover says "A dragon without its rider is a tragedy. A rider without its dragon is dead." You're supposed to like bond with a dragon, and if you don't, you die. That's like the general synopsis that I know of this book, and I honestly don't really want to know anything else. I have purposely not watched anyone's reviews on this book. All I know is that everyone freaking loves it, and apparently it has like a really high rating on Goodreads. So when books are like super hyped up like that, especially, I kind of prefer to go into them more blind because I don't want any kind of opinion to sway my opinion, you know what I'm saying? So that's all I'm gonna find out about that. Now we're on to our very last package, and let's see what we've got. There's no pulley thing on this. There we go. To finish off this haul, we have two books that, again, are some of my favorites for this entire haul, like my most anticipated. I'm so excited. So first off, we have How to Kill Men and Get Away With It by Katie Brent. And is this not the cutest freaking cover? And by cute, I mean like in a blood sprayed skirt kind of way. Everything about this book, just from the outside, I love. The title, the imagery on the cover, and then also the synopsis all kind of have like this like sarcastic kind of vibe, and I freaking love it. So I'm gonna read the synopsis. It says, "Meet Kitty Collins, friend, lover, killer. He was following me, that guy from the nightclub that wouldn't leave me alone. I hadn't intended to kill him, of course, but I wasn't sorry when I did. And despite the mess I made, I appeared to get away with it. That's where my addiction started. I've got a taste for revenge, and quite frankly, I'm killing it." I just think everything about this is super cute and clever, and I'm very excited. And then last but not least, we have another poetry book. This is called Oil Spill by Dylan Cicero. This is another one that I featured in my summer reading recommendations, and this is actually the one that I'm the most excited for. This one has not only poetry, but also some illustrations in it as well. Again, if you want to know more detail about this book, I will leave that recommendations video linked down below. But also, all of the poetry books that I mentioned in this video, I will be doing a like reading poetry for a week. So I'll be talking in more detail about each one coming very soon. And with that, that is our final book for this haul. Add it to our pile. So those are all of the books that we got for this haul. There is a total of 25. I don't know when there will be another time where I buy 25 books. Not in one go because this was collective, but it's a lot of books even to just be buying throughout the month for me. So I don't know when this is gonna happen again, but I'm very excited about all of them. I love like the array of colors as well. And with that, that is everything that I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I honestly had so much fun. There's literally nothing better than getting a bunch of books, let alone 25 of them. So, very excited. Anyway, I think that's everything that I have to say. I hope you guys have/have had the most amazing of days, and I will hopefully see you guys in my next one.